Hi guys, welcome to another Divi Theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we've got this great little photo montage for you today, or image montage, and we build it with Z-index so we can make things appear in front or behind of other elements. If I hover over this image, you'll see it pops to the front. It's going to grow. Same with this one. This one's already in front. I've set that to be the front element, as is that one. And this one. And we've got Lightbox Effect so you can pop it out. And this will work perfectly on tablet and mobile. If I bring up my F12 key, I'm using Google Chrome here. If I take a look at it on tablet. Here it is on an iPad Air. And you just click and it'll lightbox out. And let's take a look on our cell phone. iPhone 12 we've got here. And there it is. I've got them actually just regular size on the iPhone, but still, of course, you can pop them out into a lightbox or link them wherever you want to take your visitors. Now we're going to do a bit of coding for this today, but this is really an exercise in showing you what we can do with the Z-index. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. Now let's go down and we'll delete this and start from scratch. Okay. Well, I've got a section here, the blue tab. Let's give it a row. Choose how many you want to put in your row. I'm going to use 5 for mine. That way we can have one in the middle, but obviously you choose the amount you want. And in our first column, funnily enough, I'm going to add an image. Let's select the image that we want to use. And there it is in there just like that. Great. Down below in the link, I want to open mine in a lightbox. If you don't, you can link your image to anywhere that you want by putting your URL in there. Always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, open it in the same window. If you're linking off-site to somewhere else, open it in a new tab. That way your site's going to stay open. But like I say, I'm going to have mine pop out into a lightbox today. That's great. Now when I hover over it, you're going to see this crazy bit of text there. That's actually the name of the image. So if you don't want to see that, you can go over to Advanced, down to Attributes. There it is right there. If you don't want to see that, simply delete it. That's great. Now when we hover over this, I want it to grow a lot bigger. So I'm going to go over to my design. I'm going to go down to Transform. First one that we see here is Transform Scale, which means get bigger or smaller. So it's starting off at 100%. When we hover over it, and this is common to all Divi modules, if you hover over the dark writing within a module, you'll see some little icons appear. If there's an arrow, we can set a desktop state when the mouse is not on it, and a hover state when the mouse is on it. So when we're not on it, I'm going to leave it just like that, 100%. And I click on the hover state over here with the arrow. When we hover over it, I'm going to bring it up to maybe 165. Now you can roll it up like I'm doing here, or you can increment up and down with the little arrows, or you can just type in a value right here. If you've got the little chain checked, it'll do both at once for you. Great, well that's going to work fine for me. So when we're not hovering, we've got this. When we are hovering, we've got this. Now the time it takes to go from this to this, by default with Divi, is 300 mils. I'm going to slow mine down a little bit. If we pop over to the Advanced, we can go down to Transitions, and here's Transition Duration. I'm going to change mine from 300 to 600. 0.6 of a second. Don't want any delay, want it to happen as soon as they put their mouse on there. Speed curve I'm going to use for my little hover effect today is ease in, ease out. They're all similar, some will work better than in certain situations than others, but that's my little go-to for my hover effects. Great. Well, I'm fairly happy with that now, so I'm going to save it. And I'm going to duplicate it another 4 times. I'm also going to add a bit of padding to the top of my row as we're making these things grow. So I'm going to go into the green tab for the row, move to Design and Spacing. I'm going to give it an extra 100 pixels padding on the top here. Fantastic. And we'll be going back in here to set our Z indexes in a minute. This way, when I get these images to grow, the middle one's going to be quite large. We've got plenty of room for it up here. Great, so now we've done that, we can go back into our module and clone it. 2 little squares to clone or duplicate. Just left click. There's one, drag whichever one you want over to where you want it, and release. We'll do the same again until we have 5 of them. That's great, now we've got 5 of them, but I really don't want any gaps in between. So to get rid of the gaps, we can go into our row right here, the green tab, hit the little cog, go over to Design, Sizing, use Custom Gutter Width. I'm going to flip that to On. I'm going to take my gutter width all the way to the left so there's no gutter. They're all touching each other there. Great. Let's save our changes now and we'll flip the pictures and make them the size we want. So I'm going to go to the second one here. We'll choose the image that we want. Now this one I want to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go to my design here, back down to transform. Now I'm going to have this one start off maybe 130%. So it's a little bit bigger like that. And remember, we've already got the hover state set to 160, which is fine. Once we're happy, we're going to do the same with the middle one. Pop in the image that you want. And this one I want a little bit bigger again. So I'm going to start it off at 160 and maybe have it grow a little bit bigger this time. So Design, Transform. Here we go. I'm actually going to type this in today. 160. That's okay. We could even, that's actually 150. Let's type it in correctly. 160. There we go. That's fine. But when we hover over, I wanted to get slightly bigger. It's already set to 160. So I'm going to say 170. That way it will grow slightly when they hover over it. Great. And I'm sure you know what we're going to do for the next two. Going to go in there, make this the same size as that one, which I think was 130. Design, Transform. Again, I'll just type it in. Fantastic. And the last one stays exactly as it is. But of course we want to switch this photo out to a new image. And the same with the last one here. We want to switch it out. That's the only thing we've got to do to this one. Great. Okay, if I save this now, we've got our images, but they're not really displaying how I want them. I really want that middle one to be on top and these other ones folding behind. So to do that, this is where the Z index comes in. And we're actually going to do this on the columns themselves, not the actual images. I find it works better that way. So if we go into the row once more, we've got our columns here. So I'm going to go into the first column. I'm going to go over to Advanced, down to Position, roll down a little bit. There we've got Z index. And again, I'm going to roll over and bring up that little hover state. So I'm going to set it initially at desktop. All of these I'm going to set to initially to 10. The way Z index works, something with a higher value is going to always appear on top of something with a lower value. So I've given that a Z index of 10, as you can see, when we're not hovering over it. When we hover over it, I'm going to give it a Z index of 20, which will pop it on the top. Now, rather than have to go through all these columns and do that, I'm going to save what I've got here, which will take us back to the main row. I'm going to right click and extend item styles. And I want to extend to everything in this row. So they should all have that Z index. We'll just check our third one here because I want the third one to be on top. So I'm going to go into there, over to the Advanced, down to Position, down to my Z index. As you can see, it's set to 10 and 20 when we hover over it. The reason I've set it to 20 when we hover over, when you hover over it, it'll jump in front of everything else here. But this one that I want higher than everything else, I'm going to actually set desktop state to 15. As you can see, it's popped it in front right there, which is great. And our last one's over here. If I move this out of the way, that last one, save this, we'll go into the last one. I'm going to set that one slightly lower so it's behind that one to the left of it. So again, over to advanced, we're in the column, position, the index. I'm going to take the desktop down from 10 to perhaps 5. As you can see, the one to the left has popped in front. Well, that's absolutely fantastic. So if we've done everything right here, this should work for us. So let's save our changes. Save the main row changes. We'll save draft or publish if we're ready. And exit the Visual Builder. And there we have it. That's looking fine. Now when I hover over, as you can see, it's appearing in front because of the Z index and it's scaling up. And again, with the same one, we're using ease in, ease out. So when I take my mouse off, it's going to disappear. It looks like I've got to get rid of those numbers on there, or actually the name of it on those particular ones. Really easy to do. I showed you how to do that earlier. Next one. And last one. Again, it'll pop on top. Of course, when we click on them, it's going to pop out into the Lightbox. Okay, well that's looking wonderful. Like I say, I've got to remove the actual horrible name there, unless you want to keep that there and change the name of it to something pertinent. Now, if you want to use this on tablet and mobile, we've got to do a little bit of coding to keep it straight. Because if I look at it on tablet now, it's not going to look so good. If I hit my F12 key, it's actually on mobile there, it'll still work, but that doesn't look particularly good to me, and it'll still pop out into a Lightbox. And if we look at it on an iPad, let's go for an iPad Air, hits all over the place. So kind of what I'd like to do, if I get rid of this, I'd like to keep it just like this on tablet, and then perhaps on mobile have it looking normal. So to do that, we've got to write a little bit of code here. And don't worry, I've pre-written it for you, and I'll put it down below, and you're welcome to copy paste it, use it how you wish. So let's take care of this. I'm going to do this in a code module today. You can actually go down to your Divi and theme options and put it there, or in your customizer additional CSS. If you're just using it on the page like I am today, you can put it in a code module on this page. So let's enable the Visual Builder. I'm going to roll down. I'll add a little code module down here somewhere. In fact, let's add a new row. One column. I'm going to use a little code module. There we go, right there. Inside that, I've got to create some style tags. And the style tags are the only bit that I can't put down below because of the pointy brackets. So style tags are just left pointy bracket, the word style, and right pointy bracket. And you don't need to put these on if you're using your additional CSS panel. Okay, and inside there, I've got to write a media query. Now, a media query is how we tell it to do different things on different size devices. So I'm going to say at media only screen, and we need to open some round brackets and tell it the screen size that we want to affect. Well, I'm going to say something that has a max width. Let's say 980 pix, which is almost a tablet breakpoint. So 980px. Then after that, we can open some curly brackets and tell it what we want it to do when it breaks down to that size. Well, I'm going to create a class as I'm going to call mine Z Photo, and I want it to affect just the columns, which are our ETPB columns by default. Elegant themes underscore PB underscore column. That's the default column for the Divi theme. What do we want them to do? Well, let's open and close some more curly brackets here. And 100% divided by 5 is 20. So I want to make every column 20%. So all I need to put in here is width, 20%. But we need to override the styles that we've got going on there. So I need to make it important, which is exclamation mark, important. Don't like to use that, but sometimes you have to. This is one of those cases. Great. But when it goes back to a mobile phone or a cell phone, we don't want it to break down into 5 columns. We want it to be single columns on each. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to drop down below. I'm going to paste it again. This time I'm going to say 400 pics, which should take care of most mobile phones. I'm going to change that width to 100%. So each column fills the width of the screen. Great. Well, that should work with that. And like I say, I'll put this all down below. You only need this bit if you're writing into your custom CSS panel. For anybody that doesn't know, I'll copy that. Let's go down to the dashboard. Once at the dashboard, you can go down to Divi, to Theme Options. Under the General tab, roll on down. At the bottom, you're going to find your custom CSS panel. If there's something there, you can just scoot it down and paste that code in there. I'm not going to do that for mine today because I've already got it in a code module. And bear in mind, if you're doing it that way, you don't need those style tags. Great. Well, that should take care of most of it, but we've still got our scaling going on. And I don't want that to happen on mobile because that'll look kind of strange. So let's go into our little images here. So remember, we got them scaling up when we hover over them. I'm going to go over to my advanced. In the custom CSS panel of these, I'm going to go down to the main element. And again, if we roll over the little icons there, we've got a cell phone looking thing. If we click on that, we can go to phone view. And it's only in the phone view I want to do this bit of code, as you can see, because it looks kind of a little bit strange. If you like it, leave it how it is. What I'm going to do to stop the screen jumping back and forth from cell mode, I'm going to go to the back end, which is wireframe mode. Hit your little purple button, left hand side, little icon, wireframe view. We've got our 5 images there. Okay, in my main element, I want to make sure we're on phone view. I'm going to take that transformation away. So I'm going to say transform, colon, scale, and there's little round brackets at the end, and I'll put this bit of code down below as well. I want it to stay at 1, which is 100%, which is normal size, so it's not going to scale at all. And we're overriding our other styles there, so again, I have to use the important, which is a exclamation, important. Great. I need to copy this into our other 5 right there. So I'm going to select it, Control C to copy. I'm going to go into the next one. Advanced, Custom CSS, main element, make sure we're on the mobile version. We are, because we've got it set there. And just continue and do the other 3. Advanced, Custom CSS, main element, make sure we're on mobile. Save that. Next one. And the last one. Great, and while we're in here, I'll get rid of the attributes so that name doesn't pop up. So I'll close up custom CSS. I'll pause the video and do this. No point you watching me do all this. Delete that, and we'll do the same for the rest of them. Great, well that's all of those done now. Now to make this column act correctly with that code, I need to give it the CSS class of ZPhoto that we created in the code module. So I'm going to go into the row itself. I'm going to go over to Advanced, CSS IDs and classes. I'm going to give it that class of ZPhoto that we wrote in the code, Z-photo. If you're not quite sure what I'm talking about there, let's just save this. Go down to our little code module. There's the code. There's a CSS class name we gave it, ZPhoto right there. Now, if we've done everything correctly, this should work. So let's save draft or publish if you're ready. And exit the Visual Builder. And there it is on desktop. We know that works fine. The Z index is working. Everything's popping in front, and we can pop out to a Lightbox. Let's take a look on an iPad and iPhone. So I'm going to hit my F12 key. Here we are on an iPad Air. Let's make that real size. And as you can see, it's retaining the columns. And we can just do the Lightbox as usual. Fantastic. Let's have a look on an iPhone now. And with the iPhone, they've collapsed back down to regular size, which looks a lot better like that. And of course, you can click on them, lightbox them if you want to. So there you go, guys. There's how to create a little image montage using the Z index. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.